Hi, fifth graders, and welcome back to Chapter 1. Today we are working on Lesson 1.11, Evaluate Numerical Expressions. Our standard that we are working with today is under Operations and Algebraic Thinking 5.1. The standard states I can use parentheses, brackets, or braces and think about expressions with the order of operations in mind. So we are going to be using our order of operations today, which would include parentheses, exponents, multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting. So starting on page 67, the essential question that we would be answering today is, in what order must operations be evaluated to find the solution to a problem? So if you recall from lesson 1.10, remember that a numerical expression is a mathematical phrase that uses only numbers and operation symbols. So we have some examples listed. In parentheses, we would have 5 minus 2 and then times 7. That would be an example of a numerical expression. We have all numbers with our operations indicating what we would have to do. Another example, 72 divided by 9 plus 16. And the last example, 24 minus 15 in parentheses plus 32. So to evaluate or find the value of a numerical expression with more than one operation, you must follow rules called the order of operations. The order of operations tells you in what order you should evaluate an expression. So our order of operations, we know that we would need to perform our operations in parentheses first. That's always the first step. We look to see if there are any parentheses, and if there are, whatever is inside those parentheses we would solve first. Step 2 is to multiply and divide from left to right. That means you can multiply first or divide first, whichever one comes in the first part of your expression going from left to right. So there are times where you do have to divide before you can multiply. And step 3, add and subtract from left to right, which again, you can subtract before you're adding. It just, whatever one comes first is what you would need to do. We do have a saying that we like to use in the 5th grade to help our students remember the order of operations. And that saying is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So with my, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the P stands for our parentheses. We know that that comes first. The excuse is our exponent. So when we did exponents, we were working with powers of 10. So for example, 10 to the third power, that 3 is my exponent. Now we do not usually see exponents in our 5th grade expressions. If there would be, it would just be a power of 10. My stands for multiplication. Dear stands for division. Aunt stands for addition. And Sally stands for subtraction. Now to help us remember that we can divide before we multiply or that we can subtract before we add, we also use PEMDAS. I write the M and the D together because I know that it's whatever one comes first going from left to right in that step. And then I write the A and the S together because again, whichever one comes first going from left to right will be done first between adding and subtracting. So now to do our first question under Unlock the Problem. A bread recipe calls for 4 cups of wheat flour and 2 cups of rye flour. To triple the recipe, how many cups of flour are needed in all? So in order to figure out the total number of cups, we would need to take the expression 3 times 4 because we are tripling the batch. So with our wheat flour, we would need 4 cups of wheat flour. So we are going to be multiplying that by 3 to triple it, plus 3 times 2. Again, the 2 is coming from the 2 cups of rye flour, and the 3 is because we are tripling it. So on the left underneath A, it says Gabriella did not follow the order of operations correctly. So as you can see, she added her 4 plus 3 together first. When she did her 4 plus 3, she got 7, and then she multiplied the 3 numbers together, the 3 times 7 times 2. According to our order of operations with our PEMDAS or the please excuse dear Aunt Sally, we do see that we would have to multiply before we can add. So going down to B, we are going to follow the order of operations by multiplying first and then adding. So because our multiplication problems do not affect each other, we can go ahead and multiply both of them in the same step. I like to place carets underneath the operation that I am going to be working with first, so that way you can easily follow my work to see how I am getting my answers. So I know that 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 2 is 6. I have to bring the addition sign down because I did not add anything together yet. And then my final step would be to do 12 plus 6, which is 18. So my final answer that we needed to get is 18 cups of flour are needed. And we can explain why Gabriella did not get the answer correctly, and that is because she added before multiplying. So make sure you are following your order when we are solving our expressions today. Just like yesterday, or in lesson 1.10, we know that we had some expressions that had parentheses in them. So today we are going to be evaluating those expressions with the parentheses. So to evaluate an expression with parentheses, follow the order of operations. So again, perform the operations in the parentheses first, then multiply or divide from left to right, and then add and subtract from left to right. So for my next example, each batch of granola Lena makes uses 3 cups of oats, 1 cup of raisins, and 2 cups of nuts. Lena wants to make 5 batches of granola. How many cups of oats, raisins, and nuts will she need in all? So to figure out the total number of cups for one batch, we know that we can add the 3 plus 1 plus 2 together, and that would give us our one batch. So that is why they have the expression inside the parentheses. And then outside of the parentheses, we are going to be multiplying one batch times 5 to get the answer of 5 batches. So we know that 3 plus 1 is 4, and 4 plus 2 is 6. So after we solve that, we now have 5 times 6, and that would tell us that we would need 30 cups of oats, raisins, and nuts in all. So down to the bullet point, what if Lena makes 4 batches? Will this change the numerical expression, and why? So if we would only make 4 batches, we know that this would change our numerical expression. Inside the parentheses, we would still have the exact same numbers, the 3 plus the 1 plus the 2. But outside the parentheses, instead of multiplying it by 5, we're now only going to be multiplying by 4 because we are changing my number of batches to only 4 batches. So just like before, we would add those 3 plus 1 plus 2, which gives me 6. And this time we are going to multiply that 6 by 4. So this time we would only need 24 cups. So yes, this does change my expression. We proved why it would change when I rewrote the expression, and we did find a new answer. There are times where we do have an expression that does not have parentheses, And we know that we can change the value of that expression by adding parentheses to it. So under the try this, rewrite the expression with parentheses to equal the given value. So for A, we have the expression 6 plus 12 times 8 minus 3, and they tell us that they want it to equal 141. Well, without parentheses, it does not equal 141, so I'm going to prove why. So over here, I am going to rewrite my expression to solve it without parentheses. So according to my order of operations, I know that I would have to multiply first, and I do know that 12 times 8 is 96. Rewrite everything else that you did not use, so that way nothing is lost. Now, according to my order of operations, whichever one comes first for adding and subtracting is what I will do first, going from left to right. So I do have my 96 plus 6, so I do have to add that first. So when I add that together, that does give me 102. And then minus 3. So when I take 102 minus 3, I would have the answer of 99. So without the parentheses, the value of that expression is 99. So now I need to figure out where I can place these parentheses in order to get that value of 99. So this is really a guess and check method where you place parentheses around an operation with the number surrounding it, and you just try it out. And if it doesn't work, then you have to try a new spot. Knowing that without parentheses and multiplying first, getting the value of 99, I am going to need to make sure that when I multiply by the 8, I have a bigger number than 12 that I am multiplying by. So when I place my parentheses, I am going to make sure that I place it around the 6 plus 12, so that way I now have a larger number to multiply by 8. So I'm going to go ahead and try this out. So 6 plus 12 is 18. I'm going to have to then take everything that I did not do and rewrite it. Now if I take 18 times 8, if you do not know that, that's okay, just work it off to the side. But if I take 18 times 8, I know that that's going to give me 144. And then I still did not work with that minus 3, so I need to bring that down. And then when I try 144 minus 3, that does give me the value of 141 that they wanted me to have. So like I said, this is really a guess and check method. Just make sure you try to use logical thinking when you are guessing where to place those parentheses, knowing what the original value was without those parentheses, needing to make it bigger. So to do this again, for part B, this time we have the expression 5 plus 28 divided by 7 minus 4. And I need a value of 11 when I place those parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and solve without parentheses first, just to see what that given value would equal. So that way it helps me determine where I want to try to place my parentheses when I do my guess and check method. So according to my order of operations, I do need to divide first. Now, when you have your order of operations and you are dividing, you should never get a decimal or a fraction when you are doing this. If you are getting one, that means you did not do a step prior to that first correctly. So make sure you would rework that. Every division problem will give you a whole number answer. So for my 28 divided by 7, I know that that equals 4. Rewrite everything that I have not worked with yet. And then according to my order of operations, going from left to right, the adding does come first. So I do have to add 5 plus 4, which gives me 9. And then bring down that 9 minus 4. That does give me my final answer of 5. So without parentheses, it does give me a value of 5. So that means I do have to figure out what I can do to make sure that my answer is bigger when I place those parentheses. There are times when placing parentheses that you may have to use more than one set of parentheses, and this is an example of doing that. Because I know that if I place the parentheses around the 5 plus 28, 5 plus 28 right here gives me 33. I know I cannot take 33 divided by 7 without getting a decimal, so that wouldn't work. And if I would subtract first and place the parentheses around there, 7 minus 4 is 3, and I know I would not be able to do 28 divided by 3. So this is a case where we do have to have two sets of parentheses and solve both parentheses first before we can then do our final step of division. And if I do that, I do get the correct value that they wanted me to find of 11. Moving on to the next page, under the share and show, we're just going to do some of these together, and then you'll want to do some on your own and just check your answers with mine. So for number 1, according to my order of operations, I know that I do need to divide first in this expression, and 36 divided by 9 does equal 4. Bring down whatever you did not use, and then 10 plus 4 gives me 14. For number 2, I do see that there are parentheses, so I need to make sure I solve all parentheses first. So for number 2, my 25 minus 10 gives me 15. Rewrite everything else that you did not use yet. Now, according to my order of operations, I do have to divide before I can add, so I'm going to make sure I take my 15 divided by 5. I know that that equals 3. Rewrite everything else that I didn't work with yet. And finally, 10 plus 3 gives me 13. It's okay if you don't have your answers written on the line. If it helps, just circle so that way you know which one is your final answer. And that would definitely help me out too. Number 3, parentheses always come first. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. Rewrite everything that I did not work with. So here is an instance where subtracting does come before addition in my order of operations, especially in this expression because the subtraction sign is first going from left to right. So I do have to subtract before I can add. If you add first, you would end up with 9 minus 14, which would give you a negative answer. We do not have negative answers in 5th grade. So just remember, if you are getting an answer where you would have a negative, you do need to make sure you go back and rework the problem. You cannot switch the two numbers when you're subtracting either, because again, that would not give you a correct answer. So for this expression, 9 minus 6, we know it does give us 3. Write down the plus 8. 3 plus 8 does give me the final answer of 11. So for number 4, we do have to make sure we solve the parentheses first. So we have 4 plus 49, and we know that that does give us 53. And then make sure we write the minus 4 times 10. So multiplying will come next. So 4 times 10 gives me 40. And then my final step would be to take 53 minus 40, which we know gives us the final answer of 13. So at this point, I would like for you to pause, try 5, 6, and 7 on your own, and then unpause the video and check your answers with mine. So for number 5, you do need to divide first. So 100 divided by 5 is 20. Rewrite everything that you did not work with. And then my next step would be to add 5 plus 17 to give me 22. And finally, when I subtract, I would get the answer of 2. For number 6, make sure you're adding the parentheses together first, because parentheses always come first. Rewrite what you did not work with yet. And when we take 36 minus 13, we get the answer of 23. And number 7, again, add the parentheses first. So when I take 68 plus 7, that gives me the answer of 75. So 125 minus 75, if you need to, off to the side. Make sure you stack the problem and subtract. When I do this, I get the answer of 50. Now for 8, 9, and 10, these are expressions that they want us to add the parentheses to them to get the value that they have given. So knowing that I do need to make sure I get the value of 14, I know that I cannot do 30 divided by 5 first for number 8 and get that value of 14. So what I, using my reasoning skills, I know that I would want to have the 100 minus 30 in parentheses, and that would give me 70. And then 70 divided by 5 is what we would have to do last. That does give me my value of 14. For question number 9, in order to correctly solve this with the value of 23, I'm just going to guess and then check to see what would work. So I'm going to guess that we would have to do 3 times 2 first. So 3 times 2 is 6. I'm going to rewrite everything else. Then I would have to do 12 plus 17. So that would equal 29. And 29 minus 6 does give me my 23 that I need. Now, if you didn't get that right on the first try, you just have to make sure you would rework the problem. So for number 10, normally I would have to do 5 divided by 5 first, which is 1, and then do 9 plus 1 plus 2, which I know that that would give me an answer that would be way too big, because I need a very small value. So for this one, if I would do 9 plus 5 first, then I would have to take 14 divided by 5. I know I cannot do that. If I would do 5 plus 2 first, I know that I would then have to take 5 divided by 7, and that wouldn't work either. So this is another expression where I know in order to get that low of a value, I am going to have 2 sets of parentheses. So I need my parentheses around the 9 plus 5 to get 14, divided by my 5 plus 2 gives me 7. So 14 divided by 7 does give me my value of 2. So now I'm going to get you started on your homework. So on your homework, page 71, we are going to assign questions 2, 3, and 4. Make sure you're showing your carrots of what part of the problem you are working on first, and then make sure you're bringing down everything that you did not use as you're working. And then we are also going to assign questions 8 and 9. Now I am going to help set up questions 8 and 9 so that way you know what expression you are going to be using to solve for these. It says for number 8, Sandy has several pitchers to hold lemonade for the school bake sale. 2 pitchers can hold 64 ounces each, and 4 pitchers can hold 48 ounces each. How many total ounces can Sandy's pitchers hold? So I know with that word each, I know I'm going to be doing some multiplying, and I know that they want to know how many total ounces all of the pitchers can hold. So I know I'm going to have to do some adding at the end. So my first part of the expression, I have 2 pitchers that can hold 64 ounces each. So that means I need to have 2 times 64. Then I know I have 4 pitchers that can hold 48 ounces each. So I know I'm going to have 4 times 48. And to find the total ounces, I will have to add those two together. So make sure you're solving that expression to find your total ounces of lemonade. Now for question number 9, it says at the bake sale, Jonah sold 4 cakes for $8 each and 36 muffins for $2 each. What was the total amount in dollars that Jonah received from these sales? So again, I see those were keywords each from lesson 1.10, so I know I'm going to have some multiplying that I'm going to have to do. So just like at number 8, I do have a set of parentheses for the cakes. He made 4 cakes and he sold those for $8 each, so 4 times 8. He made 36 muffins and he sold those for $2 each, so 36 times 2. And in dollars, you're gonna then have to find your total, and so you will add these two parentheses together. So then on page 72, you are going to be working on all of the problems. So for question number 1, just find the value of that expression. Remember to follow your order of operations. Number 2, just like 8 and 9, I will help you set this expression up. It says Lonnie ordered 12 copies of the same book for his book club members. The books cost $19 each, and the order has a $15 shipping charge. What is the total cost of Lonnie's order? So again, we have that keyword each, so we know we're going to have to multiply. So remember, it says that he ordered 12 copies of those books, and each book costs $19. So we're going to take 12 times 19 just to figure out how much he's spending on books. Then it says he's adding an additional $15 for the shipping. So we're going to make sure we have plus 15. So make sure you're solving this expression to find the total cost of his order. Moving down to the spiral review, for question number 3, it says a small company packs 12 jars of jelly into each of 110 boxes to bring to the farmer's market. How many jars of jelly does the company pack in all? So this is from lesson 1.6, and if you recall, lesson 1.6 was multiplying. So, I'm sorry, this is actually lesson 1.10, multi-digit multiplication. So we do have 12 jars of jelly into 110 boxes each. So that means we are taking 110 times 12 to figure out the total number of jars of jelly. For question number 4, it says June has 42 sports books, 85 mystery books, and 69 nature books. She arranges her books equally on 7 shelves. How many books are on each shelf? So we first of all need to figure out just the total number of books that she has. So we are going to have to make sure we are adding 42 plus 85 plus 69. That'll give us our total number of books. Once we have that, we then need to arrange them equally on 7 shelves. Equally, if you recall from lesson 10, was to divide. That's sharing something equally between those 7 shelves. So we are going to make sure we divide the total of books by 7. For number 5, last year a widget factory produced 1,012,060 widgets. What is this number written in standard form? So if you have your place value charts, make sure you are placing the digits in the correct location according to the periods and then their place value within those periods, and then write your answer like you would any regular number. And finally, for number 6, a company has 3 divisions. Last year, each division earned a profit of 5 times 10 to the 5th power. What was the total profit the company earned last year? So because there are 3 divisions, I do have to find my basic fact that we will have to multiply together. So I know, because with the 3 divisions, I would want to take 3 times 5 first, and then times 10 to the 5th power. Remember, the exponent does tell you how many zeros to place behind that. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you later.